Hi, in this video I'm going to be showing you how you can lay accumulator bets step by step. Now you often see accumulators more and more in bookmaker promotions, so I'm going to be showing you how you can lay them to remove the risk and turn these into profit. So there's two different strategies on how you can lay it. You can lay them sequentially, i.e. each leg step by step, or you can lay the Accas as a whole. But I'm going to be going through both strategies to show you how you can lay these bets. So before we dive into that, let's quickly recap what an accumulator bet is. Now I'm sure a lot of you know, but if you don't, it's simply different selections across different games combined into one bet. So for example, this could be 3 different games and you'll be betting on, say, Arsenal to win, Liverpool to win and Chelsea to win, and this would be combined into a single bet, and all 3 of those results would have to come true, i.e. they'd all have to win for you to win your overall bet. So the core idea behind laying this Accas is the idea that we're going to be covering every single possible outcome associated with this Accas. So we're not relying on this Accas winning, so we're not relying on all 3 legs coming true. Instead, if one of the legs loses or all 3 draw, we're going to end up winning our lay bet. So these 2 bets are simply cancelling each other out. But when you have a free bet, if you do it correctly, this lay bet is going to turn into profit. So let's dive into the 2 possible strategies in terms of how we actually lay this Accas. Okay, so the first strategy, which is the easiest and the most popular amongst our users, is simply laying the Accas as a whole. So you'd build the Accas on your bookie and then you'd lay the whole Accas using Smarkets multiples lay feature and go about it that way. Okay, so the first step in the process is to simply build your Accas. Now to keep this video simple and easy to follow, I've assumed that your qualifying bet has allowed you to use a 2-legged Accas, so only 2 selections, just to keep this video easy to follow. Now the first step in the process is to again select your game. So head over to the R odds matcher. I'm using the bookie Bet365 for this example, and the first thing that you're going to want to do is select 2 different games and use their retention as high as possible, i.e. this retention rate needs to be as close as possible to 100%. So this means the back and the lay odds will be as close as possible and you retain as much of your qualifying bet as possible, i.e. you will only lose a few pence or a few pounds, whatever that is. So the games that I'm selecting are the Genoa game and the Fulham game. So the Genoa game is going to be the draw and the Bournemouth game is going to be on Bournemouth. So head over to Bet365 and we're going to select these 2 games. So first on Bet365, let's build the Accas. So we're going to select the 2 different selections. So the Genoa game, we were selecting the draw, so draw at odds of 3.4. We're then going to find the Fulham game, so Bournemouth, Fulham, and we're selecting Bournemouth at odds of 2.4. Now you can see in selection above, you'd be placing your bet on the double, so that will have combined odds of 8.16, which you're going to need to take a note of. But that's all we're going to do for now. Let's not place the bet just yet. Now, the second step in the process, just like any sort of match betting offer, match betting bet, is to simply lay your bet. But this is where it gets a little bit more confusing and people typically find it a little bit harder because it's not quite the same as your typical laying strategy. So I'm going to show you exactly what that means, but it's not as scary as it sounds. So simply follow along and keep paying attention. So the first thing we're going to want to do in Smarkets is find the 2 different games. So head over to Smarkets and find the Genoa game. So again, we'll be betting on the draw. Now, typically, as I mentioned, when it comes to match betting, to place a lay bet, you want to click the blue button, which is indeed the lay bet. However, when we're building the Accas, when we want to lay the Accas using the Smarkets multiples feature, we instead want to find the different selections within that Accas. We're going to place the back button, and we're not going to do anything with that just yet, the back button on these 2 games. So we have the Genoa one, which was the draw. Now we want to find the Fulham game. We found the Fulham game, and again, we're going to be backing Bournemouth. So Bournemouth is obviously the game we want to lay, but in Smarkets, simply back it first. And then once we have the 2 different selections, head to multiples. And from multiples, you want to change the buy, i.e. the back, to sell. So you see what I did here? Just change the buy to the sell, and here you'll be able to lay your Accas. So now you're here, you have the combined lay selections and a lay bet against this Accas. So the one thing you want to take note of is their combined lay odds, which are 9.6. And from here, it's really, really simple. It's just like any other matched betting bet slash offer. You now have the back odds and the lay odds. So you're going to head over to our match betting calculator to find out what your lay stake should be. So as I mentioned, head over to our matched betting calculator, and then we're simply going to be implementing our details and treating it like any other sort of matched bet by entering our back details and our lay details to find out our lay stake. So the back stake was £10, so let's assume it was £10. The combined back odds, if you remember, was 8.16 on Bet365. Sorry, that didn't change, 8.16. The lay bet, so the combined odds were 9.6, I believe. Let me just go ahead and double check. Yep, combined odds of 9.6. So here is our lay stake. So we're going to copy that lay stake of £8.50. So we would need a liability of £73. And as you can see from our £10 qualifying bet, so assuming we're placing a £10 qualifying bet to qualify for a free bet, we would lose £1.50, which is completely fine for a qualifying bet, because in the next round, we're going to do the exact same thing, but with a free bet. So that free bet is where we'll make our profit. So you do the exact same thing, and then you'd head over to the match betting calculator, enter your back details and your lay details. The only thing you do differently within the match betting calculator is change it from a qualifying bet to a free bet, stake not returned. So then as you can see, if we place the exact same Accas bet, you can see that we make a profit of £7.44. So if you minus the £1.50 we would have lost earlier, it would have been a combined profit of £6. Okay, now the second strategy is a little bit more complicated because it requires a little bit more time and patience. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. However, it does have its benefits. You are likely to make a little bit more profit slash a lower qualifying loss if you do lay sequentially. So what does laying sequentially actually mean? So imagine we've built our Accas, so it'd be the exact same process, which I'll go through in a second. Imagine we have two legs. Instead of laying this whole Accas in one go, you'd lay the game as they go along. So imagine we have a game on Wednesday and a game on Thursday. We'd lay the Wednesday game first. Now, if that Wednesday game won, we would continue. So in the second game on Thursday, we'd again need to lay the second leg. Now, if that game won or lost, we'd make our profit slash qualifying loss there. However, on Wednesday, if the game lost or drew, we would have made our money in Smarkets straight away, so we wouldn't need the rest of the games to go through. So one important distinction between this strategy and the previous strategy is that you need time between the games to lay them sequentially if you are going to use this strategy, i.e. you'll need sort of an hour or two between the two games finishing and starting to place your lay bet in between those games. But let's get into this strategy and it will make a little bit more sense as we move along. Now, the second thing we need to do is find out the lay odds of the two individual games. So you don't necessarily have to go to Smarkets. You can just have a look at the odds matcher and you'll find the lay odds there. However, it might be beneficial to go over to Smarkets and just double check the odds are correct. So I've done that already. So Bournemouth 2.48, and we can find the comma game just to ensure that the lay odds are correct. So 1.44. So again, the odds are correct on both sides. So now we have note of the two individual lay odds and note of the combined back odds. So now we're going to head over to our Accas sequential lay calculator. So once you're on this screen, you're simply going to start entering all the details from the Accas, which we already have because we worked through the combined back odds, the individual lay odds, and that's all you really need. So let's start working our way through. So this section, it's just identifying that it's a qualifying bet. So we're going to continue to entering our back odd details. So you can enter the bookie if you want. It's not really needed, but I do it if you want. Now the combined back odds, if you remember, were 3.17. Now we're going to continue to the individual lay stakes. So as you can see, there's two legs here. If you want to add another one, just simply click here. So the individual lay odds, I think the first game, so I think it's important to implement the first game first. So our first game was the Bournemouth game on May the 9th, which had lay odds, of 2.48. Then the second game, which was the Como game, had lay odds of 1.44. And then we're going to simply review our results. So this is going to tell us what we'd make no matter the outcome. So as you can see, no matter the outcome, we're going to be losing £1.13. Now take this into consideration because, as I mentioned at the start of this strategy, it is a slightly more difficult strategy. However, you will retain or make more profit. Now let's see the full breakdown / start placement. So far we haven't actually placed anything, and all we've done is enter in all of the Accas details so that the calculator has everything that it needs and is now able to tell us exactly what we should be placing. So now when it comes to placing the bets, the first thing you're going to want to do is head over to Bet365 and place that £10 Accas or however much it was. Once you've placed the Accas on Bet365, the next step is to lay the first game. So that first game, which was Bournemouth, our calculator tells us exactly what our stake should be. So we're going to copy our stake, we're going to head over to the Bournemouth game, and we're going to place the lay bet on Bournemouth, so 2.48, paste in our lay stake, which was £8.88, and this is our first lay bet completed. So this was payout £22, and that's all we need to do for the first bit until this game finishes. So let's just select that we've placed this lay. Now the next thing is just to wait until the Bournemouth game finishes. So as soon as it finishes, you need to go and find out if Bournemouth won or if they lost or drew. So if they won, it would mean you'd select that they won, so the Accas would continue. And for the sake of this, I'm going to assume that Bournemouth drew or lost. So you're going to select that the back bet lost, and this is going to break down the qualifying loss you had and where your money is. So your money would now be in Smarkets because the first lay bet won, and overall for this qualifying bet you would have lost £1.12. But now let's go back. So that means the process would finish, but for the sake of this video we're going to go back and assume that Bournemouth won their game, meaning you would have won your first leg on Bet365 and your bet would continue. So you're going to select that the black leg won, and this is going to take you to your second lay stake. So this is going to confirm what you need to place for your second game. So the first thing that it asks you to confirm is just to confirm if the lay odds is still what you initially submitted, because this second leg is a day after the first leg. So there's enough time for that lay odds and the odds in general just to change a little bit, i.e. go up or down. So just make sure they're still 1.44, which they are. So you're going to confirm the lay odds and the lay stakes. So confirm the lay stakes, and now it's going to tell you exactly what you need to lay on the commo game. So copy this stake, head over to Smarkets, again find the commo game at odds of 1.44, paste in your stake and place that bet. So head back over to the calculator, say that you've placed this lay bet and wait for the game to finish. So once that game finishes, this is where the Accas will conclude, because no matter whether it wins or loses, this is the final leg of the Accas. So now you're going to be making your money back on either Smarkets or Bet365. So I can show you both scenarios. So imagine that Como either drew or lost. You'd click here and it would show you what you would have lost in general. So you would have lost £1.13, and it would have broken down the two legs and how much is in your Smarkets account. And if we go back, if now we assume that Como won, you'd click that the back leg won, and it would have showed you again how much you would have lost overall, but how much would be in your Bet365 account. So hopefully that video has broken down exactly how laying accumulator bets work, and it's now far less overwhelming because it is really simple, and using the calculators that we have at AI Profit, it makes the process 10 times easier and 10 times faster. However, if you do have any questions, simply drop them in the comments below, or head over to our website and join our Discord community where you can speak to match bettors who have been match betting for the past 5, even 10 years and have a lot of experience to share with everyone.